Get your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.
The Payments window is used to select and pay individual vendors. To access the Payments window, you can select Tasks from the menu bar and then choose the Payments command. You can use this window to enter purchases which have been made from vendors that do not have an associated bill, or you can use it to apply payments to vendor bills that were entered through the Purchases Receive Inventory screen. When a vendor ID is selected within the Payments window, all unpaid bills that are associated with that vendor will then appear below on the Apply to Invoices tab. For unpaid vendor bills, you can choose to pay the entire amount of the vendor bill or make a partial payment. You can also apply prepayments and vendor credit memos within this window. So when using this window, you would first select either Vendor ID or Customer ID from the drop-down field of the same name, and then select the vendor ID of the vendor or customer to whom you are issuing the check from the adjacent drop-down right next to it. To enter a payment to a vendor who is not in your vendor list, just leave this field blank and instead type the vendor's name directly into the Pay to the Order of field below. Note that you would only choose a customer ID to issue a customer refund check. After selecting the recipient, you would next enter the check or reference number used to pay this vendor or vendor bill into the text box of the same name if the check has already been issued. You will leave this field blank if you plan to print the payment checks through Sage 50, as the check number will then be assigned during the print routine. Also note the Recur button that appears in the toolbar at the top of this window. You can click this button to create a payment and then have it recur in this and future time periods by simply selecting the frequency with which to automatically have this payment recur in the Create Recurring Payments dialog box that appears. Once you've set your payment frequency, you would then click OK to create the future payments in Sage 50. Doing this can be a handy time saver for bills which you have to pay on a set schedule with the same amount to the same vendor. You would then enter the date that the payment check was created into the Date field. The total cash balance after you pay the selected invoices or payments will be displayed in the Cash Account Balance field. If it says Uncalculated in the Cash Account Balance field, you can click the Recalculate button to the right in order to display the correct total balance. You can also enter the General Ledger account from which the check will be written in the Cash Account field. You would then select the Apply to Expenses tab to enter payments to vendors that are not associated with any outstanding invoices or purchases. So you can use this tab to enter payments that do not involve bills and cash purchases. When a vendor without any invoices is selected, this tab automatically appears. You can check the Prepayment box within this tab to create a prepayment, which can later be applied to one or more invoices for the selected vendor on the Apply to Invoices tab. You can also enter the number of items being purchased in the Items field, and this should also bring up the description and general ledger if the item is in the inventory. If not, you can simply change the values of both columns. You may need to do the same thing with the Unit Price field if it's incorrect as well. If you are purchasing an item that's not tracked in inventory, enter the total price of the item into the Amount field. You would select the Apply to Invoices tab to make payments against open vendor invoices. Note that this tab will automatically appear when you select vendors with whom you have one or more outstanding invoices. On this tab, you will see the invoice, the due date, and the amount due. You can enter a description for each invoice into the Description field if desired. If you qualify for a discount, the amount of the discount will display here as well. You cannot take a discount on a partial payment, however. You can also enter the amount paid to the invoice in this field, or you can simply check the checkbox for Pay to pay the selected invoice amount in full. When all invoices included on a check are selected, you can click the Print button in the toolbar at the top of the window to print the disbursement check, or you can simply click the Save button to save the record and print the check later. Note that if you had selected a customer ID instead of a vendor ID when you initially entered this window, the Apply to Customer Account tab will then appear at the bottom of the window instead. You can then use that tab to record customer refunds. Then simply click the Save button when you're finished performing data entry within the Payments window.
Like what you see? Pick up your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.